The Turkish Air Force is the aerial warfare service branch of the Turkish Armed Forces. The Turkish Air Force can trace its origins back to June 1911 when it was founded by the Ottoman Empire. However, the Air Force as it is known today did not come into existence until 1923 with the creation of the Republic of Turkey. In 1998, the Turkish Armed Forces announced a program of modernization worth $160 billion over a 20-year period in various projects. $45 billion was earmarked to go to the overhaul of the Turkish Air Force, and includes commissioning new combat aircraft and helicopters. According to Flight International and the International Institute for Strategic Studies, the Turkish Air Force has an active strength of 80,000 military personnel and operates approximately 1,248 manned aircraft. The world's first black pilot Ahmet Ali Seliktan and first female fighter pilot Sabiha Gökçen both served in the TAF. The history of Ottoman military aviation dates back to between June 1909 and July 1911. The Ottoman aviation squadrons participated in the Balkan Wars, with future Central Powers 13 victory flying ace Hans Joachim Budek flying with the Turks early in World War I as just one example. The General Inspectorate of Air Forces by July 1918. The aviation squadrons were reorganized as the General Inspectorate of Air Forces. After the Armistice of Mudros and the occupation of the Ottoman Empire by the Allies in 1919, some Turkish aviators tried to build new units in Istanbul, Izmir, Konya, Elazig and Diyarbakir with planes left over from World War I and tried to bring together flight personnel. During the Turkish War of Independence, Turkish pilots joined the Konya Air Station was established under the Office of War of the GNA. A few damaged aircraft belonging to the GNA were repaired and afterwards used in combat. In July 1922, it was reorganized as the Inspectorate of Air Forces at Konya, after the establishment of the Republic of Turkey on 29 October 1923. Plans were made to form a modern air force, originally consisting of 3 normal and 1 naval aviation units, and an air school. The number of units was increased to 10 normal and 3 naval aviation units. Starting in 1924, personnel were sent abroad for flight education. In 1925, the air school was re-established in Eskişehir and its first students graduated that same year. The Inspectorate of Air Forces was reorganized as the Undersecretariat of the Ministry of Defense. In 1928 and new schools were found for non-pilot personnel. Some personnel were sent to the United Kingdom and France for training. Others were sent to the United States and Italy in 1930. From 1932, the air regiments were considered to be a separate combat arm and started training its own personnel. Turkish aviators wore blue uniforms from 1933. Sabiha Gökçen became the first female fighter pilot in military history in 1937. Another key event in 1937 was the establishment of the Air War College. By 1940, Turkish air brigades had more than 500 combat aircraft in its inventory, becoming the largest air force in the Balkans and the Middle East. The growing inventory of air brigades required another structural change, which was made in 1940. The Air Undersecretariat under the Ministry of National Defense for Logistical Affairs and the General Staff for Educational Affairs were united to form the Air Force Command in 1944. Thus, the Air Force became a separate branch of the Turkish Armed Forces. The first commander of the Turkish Air Force was General Zeki Doğan. Turkey did not enter World War II on the side of the Allies until February 1945. However, the Turkish armed forces went on full alert and were prepared for war following the military alliance between neighboring Bulgaria and the Axis powers, which was formalized in March 1941, and the occupation of neighboring Greece by the Axis powers in April 1941. Within a year, Turkey's borders were surrounded by German forces in the northwest and west, and Italian forces in the southwest. The Turkish Air Force made daily reconnaissance flights over Bulgaria, Greece, the Greek islands in the Aegean Sea, and the Dodecanese Islands, which then belonged to Italy, to monitor the positions of the Axis forces. The large cities in western Turkey were darkened at nights, and anti-aircraft guns and searchlights were deployed for defense against possible enemy planes. Almost all available money in the Turkish government treasury was used to purchase new weapons from any available provider in the world. The Turkish Air Force received large numbers of new aircraft in this period, including Supermarine Spitfire Mk. IV, X-19, Curtiss Falcon CW-22R-B, Fairey Battle I, Avro Anson I, Hawker Hurricane I-2, Marine Saulnier MS-406, Curtiss P-40 Tomahawk, Curtiss P-40 Kittyhawk, Westland Lysander I, Consolidated B-24D Liberator B-24, Bristol Blenheim IV, V, Bristol Beaufort, Bristol Beaufighter Mk. I, X, Focke-Wulf FW-190A3, Martin 187 Baltimore, D.